Hello. What you doing? What you doing now? Hi ladies, I just wanted to do a video today just talking about some of the myths and fears that people might have around IVF and whether it's something that they should pursue. I've just had a few people that I know or kind of have met that have decided for one reason or another not to do IVF, and while I don't ask them because it's not my business why they didn't pursue IVF, I just kind of wanted to, I don't know, make a video talking about some of the things that I heard about IVF that I found not to be true, or things that I had to work through personally after completing IVF. So hopefully this is helpful. If you do have any questions around IVF or things that you've heard that you're worried about or fearful of, please feel free to leave them in the comments below and I will try to answer them as best as I can. So the first one, and this was a big fear for me personally, was the injections are going to hurt and leave bruises, and that was a big one for me. I hate needles with all that I am, and I knew that a lot of people have had bruises on their stomachs from the injections and things like that, so that was a big worry for me. But let me go find a needle quickly. So here is one of the injections that you may take. This is the size of it. You have to put the medicine in here. This is a leftover one that I had, and this is the size of the needle. If you can see it there, compared to my hand, like my thumb, it is really small. It's really not as scary as I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be a really big fat needle, but it is a really small needle. And I had to do roughly 21 injections for 3 weeks. It's really not as bad as I thought they were going to be. And I did pretty much all of them by myself. I think Myke might have helped me with 1 or 2, but the rest of them I did on my own. And yeah, compared to some of the other things that I've had, you know, happen in my life, the injections were not that bad. If you get them in the right angle, then you're fine. They don't hurt at all. Sometimes if you don't put it exactly like 90 degrees to your skin and you kind of go on a little bit of an angle, that's when it hurts. So as long as you get it in the right angle, it's fine. It's not as bad as I thought they were going to be. I did get a little bit of bruising. I bruise like a peach, and so I did get a little bit, but nowhere as bad as some of the horror stories that I've heard. And really, it didn't hurt. I mean, most of the time, bruises are bruises, right? They just kind of do their thing and then fade away. So the injections aren't as bad as what some people make them out to be. Second concern that I hear a lot is I'm going to become a lunatic and this crazy other person that no one is going to want to be around. I think the medication has come a long way since when it first was developed, and they monitor you like crazy. You have heaps of blood tests in between to make sure that everything is going to schedule. And so I don't think I was acting any different. There was one occasion that I completely lost it at Myke, and I went crazy psycho lady in the car at him. He says from the kitchen table. But other than that, I think, right Myke, the rest of the time I was pretty normal. Yeah. So look, if your marriage cannot survive you being a little bit more hormonal than normal for 3 weeks, literally that's all it is 1 month of drugs, and then you're, most of the time that's it, unless you have to do other cycles is what I'm saying. But really not as crazy as I thought it was going to be. I was so worried about that. Another fear is that your marriage will suffer from it because you've become this crazy lunatic person, or the fear that if it doesn't work, it's going to put even more pressure on your marriage. Those are fears and concerns that everyone will have. But I'm under the belief that if you don't try, at least if you don't try, you'll never know if it works. You've got to try these things. The chances that everyone will get pregnant from IVF, well, that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen for everyone that way. Some people it's going to work great for. Some people it's just not going to be the way that you have a family. You might still have to look at adoption or fostering or an embryo transfer or something of that nature. But unless you try IVF, you don't know if it's going to work for you. And I would hate for you to get to a point where you get to a point in your life where IVF is no longer a possibility and you wish you had tried it when you could. So I had the fear that it wasn't going to work. I was worried that we would get through this whole thing and they would tell us that we weren't going to be able to have kids by me becoming pregnant. That was a big fear, and I guess my fear only went away until we knew how many embryos we had. But if we got to the end of the first cycle and we had no embryos, I would still do IVF again. I would, just to make sure that there wasn't any chance of being able to do it. If you don't do it, you'll never know. Sorry, just editing this video, and I just wanted to stipulate in here, obviously we live in New Zealand and there is free government funding for IVF and the treatments, and so why I'm saying this video is maybe specifically for women in New Zealand who are still kind of questioning whether it's something that they should be looking into. I know IVF is expensive and I know it's not a possibility for everyone because of the cost, but if you have the money to do it, or you live in a country that offers free IVF, this is kind of what I'm talking about here, is don't miss out on that opportunity that is being given to you that way. Long-term health risks and baby defects. Now, all the studies that I have researched and looked at shows that the chances of your child having a defect or any long-term health risks to you are either very, very, very minimal or just non-existent. And I understand it's not any different than if you got pregnant naturally. So you've got to think about how long IVF has been going for. It's been going for, I think it's like 3 or 4 decades now. It has come a long, long way in that time. And the studies that they've done, the more that they've learnt about the process, it has grown and changed and become, from what I understand, so much better. So I think that if there's any fear of long-term effects or defects in the baby, that shouldn't be an issue, because studies just show that that's not an issue. And then the last one, and I'm only bringing this up because if you've watched any of my videos, you know that I am a Christian, and so this is the only reason why I'm bringing this point up. I think there's some Christians who struggle with IVF and want to know if it is almost going against God's will to have babies via IVF. Now, these are what I'm going to share are my own personal views from what I understand of who God is, and from what I understand of the Bible, and from what I understand of just theology in general. And this is not to point the finger at anyone who might have a different view. If they have a different view of IVF and they haven't explored it because of their views, that is your opinion. But I am only sharing this in case there's any other believers out there who are struggling to try and make this decision. Because it all comes into play of, when does life begin? Now, you hear when God created Adam and Eve, he breathed life into Adam. He breathed life into Eve. Life doesn't happen unless God wants it to happen. So as far as I'm concerned, you could have as many embryos planted in you as you wanted, but until God breathes life into that embryo, that baby, it doesn't mean anything. You could have 1,000,000 planted in you, and unless he makes it so, it's not going to happen. So as far as I'm concerned, I think IVF is fine for Christians. Man cannot just make life happen. Man can help the process, and I believe God has blessed medical professionals and doctors with the ability and the knowledge and the wisdom and how to do these procedures, how to make these things happen, just like it is when someone has cancer, and God has blessed doctors with the knowledge and the wisdom and how to treat those patients, how to make them better. And so that's kind of what I believe as well, that just like there's women who struggle to get pregnant, God has blessed medical professionals with the knowledge and the ability to help them with the process. Then there's all these things around multiple embryos like what we have, and that's where the moral dilemma comes in as well. I won't really get into that in this video. If anyone is interested and they would like to hear my views on how all the religious, I hate that label, but theological stuff around IVF, I'll make a very separate video for that, but only if people are interested in that. But that's just my views. I'm just saying, in short, in one sentence, I think it's okay for Christians to have IVF. I don't think it's going against God's will or anything like that. I don't think it's trying to create a subhuman culture or, subhumans that are different and out of God's will. Because unless God breathes life into those cells, into that baby, it won't live. It won't become anything. So yeah, I'll stop it there. So I hope this video was helpful. If you have any other questions or there's other things that come up, and there's quite a few of them, I will make a separate video again. Otherwise, I'll just answer them in the comments. Other ladies who have had IVF, please feel free to respond as well to the comments and questions. I think the more knowledge that is out there, the more understanding of what IVF is, the experience of it, the less kind of stigma there is to what it is and how it works and everything like that. Because I think sometimes it can have a really negative stigma, and it really doesn't need to. It doesn't have to be this awful, horrible experience. Even though I got super sick from the IVF, in the bigger scheme of things, being sick and having to do injections for a month and being able to have my own family at the end of it seems totally worth it. So yeah, hope this was helpful. Love to you all, and speak to you later.